Okay, we're live. Okay, party people of the interwebs. We are the Extinctionati, and this is episode 174. Let the party start.
The celebration. The celebration. Just kidding. Right.
So, while I figure out the stream quality, Eric, you're back. Thank you for coming back. How are you, and what have you experienced over the past fortnight since you were here?
Well, quite a bit, I guess. I mean, it's been a couple of weeks. I can't really think of anything all that exciting other than, I guess, the weather's warming up. So spring is coming. And, well, that's always nice. I mean, it's always nice to start getting warmed up after a cold winter.
Spring is nice. Spring is always nice and nice. It's my. I don't have a favorite time, no, but spring is nice. Absolutely. Each time I get to London, this time of year, it's fantastic. At least there are some so much energy in the streets of London. That is that you notice it absolutely, and life is coming right each spring.
Right. Yep. At least for the plants and trees and stuff.
Oh yes, they are drinking 100 liters. I don't know how much that is in gallon for the moment, but they are drinking 100 liters each day, each 24 hours in a given period during spring. At least our trees are, and you can. They are drinking more than its weight, really. Many times their weight, each and every day. They need it to blossom, really, for the flowers to bloom. Absolutely amazing.
Yes, I also appreciate the spring very much, and both in person, out in the nature, and it's also a very energetic time for us watchers of the global ice, at least the northern peninsula. No, sorry, my English is just out the door today. The northern hemisphere. Everything is happening in spring when it comes to the ice and melting of the ice, or most of the excitement is really over just 3 or 4 months in spring. That's kind of when we see special things. It's lots of things. It has to do with the amount of methane coming out under when the ice melts and stuff, and the amount of OH minus molecules in the air that destroy the methane, and of course the sun. How strong the sun is and what it's doing. Yeah, so lots of excitement, and of course life is coming back from under the snow and ice, all of that stuff.
Yes, we don't have snow here. We haven't really had a winter since 1987, I believe. Yes, 1987 was the last real winter here. We have had some cold spells, but not winter. In 21 and 22, there weren't below zero temperatures at all. Not a single day, not a single night. So
yeah, we had 10 degrees plus today. So And of course, we had the big election night last night, and it was the biggest landslide election in all of Greenland's history. So that's something.
The Liberal
The
Party won. ARG.
Yeah, but the strange thing is that all of the TV news teams that have camped up here in Nuuk, in the capital of Greenland, for weeks and months, today they are sort of, oh, okay, nothing to see here, move along. But at least if they didn't want to make a report from Greenland today, they could have reported about plus 10 degrees Celsius. That should be something for their audience, I guess.
Not really, unfortunately, of course. The audience isn't interested, or don't want to talk about climate change at all. So, and they are encouraged not to think about it too, of course. There are, by the way, there are the upcoming winter in Antarctica, and the ice continues to melt down there, and that's really far more interesting and dramatic than what's happening here. Of course, if all the ice in Greenland melts, it will be a 6 meters rise, but Antarctica is really a tipping point. They're really big stuff.
Of course, we are going to talk about climate because we are the Extinctionati, and we have an episode here in, I think, February, about the CO2 and the endangerment finding from the EPA. It's an old law from 2009 from Obama, saying basically that CO2 and methane is dangerous to human health and prosperity, whatever. And today came the big news that the new EPA chief, he is going to totally explode the entire American climate sphere, the system, and he will start. He has studied the question in January, and his reply is that yes, the Trump administration, if it wants to, has the legal ability to explode the endangerment finding, which means that any day now, CO2 and methane will no longer be dangerous. Do you have a comment to that, Eric?
Well, obviously, politics is one thing. Reality, of course, is totally a different thing. And, well, getting rid of the words climate change or carbon dioxide or methane or any of the other, I mean, they're attempting to eliminate hundreds of words from all government documents. But let's face reality. I mean, it's kind of meaningless for all practical purposes. All that does is confuse people who actually believe that U.S. government documents are still an authoritative source, which most of us, especially those of us who live in the U.S., now no longer believe that to be the truth in any way, shape, or form. They're getting rid of the CO2 readings from Hawaii. They're doing everything they can to get rid of inconvenient truths. So of course, inevitably, um, I, I certainly won't be using any kind of U.S. government sites moving forward because they can no longer be trusted. You know.
Well, that's been a debate for a long time, or at least among very, very few of us. You have. I've always found it peculiar that you have climate.go is the URL, the link to the climate pages in America, and for reasons that I don't think I have to go into, climate science shouldn't be under political government. I can mention the Soviet Union. I can mention Nazi Germany. I can mention England under Starmer. Whatever. Uh, Politicians are not the best arbiters of free and fair science. I think it's fair to say. But the data at some point in our near future, the data will start being non-reliable because some director will lean too hard on the scientific facts themselves, right? Let's not be naive. But I haven't seen clear proof of that yet. Anyway, at least not for the cryosphere, the ice data.
Yeah, well, I'll agree with you. They haven't cut it off yet entirely, but they're working on it, and they're eliminating lots of NOAA buildings by not renewing their leases. They've fired uh, literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people. It's only a matter of time. It's coming. I mean, it's best, I guess, from at least from my perspective, it's best for me to no longer depend on those sites, only because I know that at some point they'll be either uh, hamstrung in some way or just simply discontinued altogether.
Sorry, I was just checking some technical stuff about the stream. Yeah, I think there's been a bit of commotion and hyperbole about what the terrible new government has actually done. It's like all of the data that I use every day is still there, and there's more like the outer, the front page of many U.S. agencies. They have edited their landing pages, where people go to look up sort of the overview stuff about climate change. But, as I said in a recent phone conversation, you would expect a new government with a different political agenda to edit those pages anyway. And it happened also the last time there was a Republican administration. And you kind of have to allow them to let their policy shine on.
Sorry.
That's using the shine word very loosely, but shine
Yes.
through or show through, right, on the pages. But as I said before that, I said that climate science shouldn't be under political administration anyway. That's my basic proposition or basic.
And the reality of the previous administration was that they didn't do anything about it either. They didn't try to remove a lot of words or expressions or the very idea of climate change, but they didn't. They actively did oil drilling and everything really. So it's just a hopeless thing altogether, really. Human beings, I have said this before, but it is 100% certain that humanity won't do anything significant to put a stop to global, to the human-created climate change. So that Trump is pulling out of the Paris Agreement or Paris Accords, it's just it doesn't matter. And I'm not pessimistic here. I'm just realistic, I believe. So if you really, it's so funny, really, the entire climate change thing. I was there at the first COP meeting in Bergen in May 1990. We sang blah 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 then, and we would sing blah 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 now at any meeting, at any similar meeting. So if humanity is going to do anything about climate change, it's the people that need to do it. But that's not very likely either. So we are going to ride it out. We need the bottleneck. The bottleneck is coming, and we need to survive that.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. I'm not too optimistic about survival, but in fact, one of the things regarding the new COP meeting coming up that I just posted today in the group was that they're building a brand new 4-lane limited access highway to actually get to the meeting
That
through through the rainforest.
Typical. It's so typical, right? They are flying in private jets to the meetings. They are building highways to the meetings, and they are all in all doing lots of stuff, working to make climate change um, happen faster. Excellent.
Yeah. Well, it's only a matter of time before the entire Amazon basin, the entire rainforest, becomes basically savanna, rather than forest, and it's happening a lot faster than I thought it would. It's already, for all practical purposes, changed from a carbon sink to a carbon source,
Yes.
and it looks like a lot of the land sinks have likewise done the exact same thing. And the ocean is now turning from a sink to a source. And it's well,
Yes, the ocean is full, right? It's choking with CO2
yep,
and greenhouse gases. That was, by the way, what was delaying it all, right? The ocean took it all in 2000, around that, right? And that stopped temporarily the growth of CO2 in the atmosphere. But now, as you say, there are no more sinks left. There are just producers everywhere.
pretty much everything just keeps getting going up, and well, except for everything we need, those stocks are, of course, going lower, lower, lower. But um, yeah, it's one of those things where, well, I remember I used to believe, or I used to think that regenerative agriculture or permaculture or some mix of different kinds of ways of agriculture could possibly support a small number of subsistence humans, uh, in what a lot of people call the so-called bottleneck. Um, but I no longer hold that to be true. I've since discovered lots of different studies that lead me to believe that we're literally poisoning ourselves to death with the toxins of the chemicals and pollution that we've released into the environment, and those toxins and pollution and chemicals are going to come back to haunt us. So And I posted that in today's article that was posted this morning on problems, predicaments, and technology. It's a brand new article, so if you have ever read that, be sure to check that one out.
The poisons are in the system, right? So you're at least partly right. I don't agree with you that it's completely hopeless, but we need to that bottleneck will be extremely hard to go through. If we had stopped, the problem is the same on all subjects, really, right? If we had stopped CO2 today or 10 years ago, and if we had stopped the release of poison 10 years ago, if we had released if we had stopped the release of plastic and so on, right? But we don't. We keep increasing all of it, all of the shit. so it isn't easy being an optimist, that's for sure. I see myself as an optimist, really, even though most people wouldn't agree with me. But I do believe we will. Some humans, very few humans, but very few, but some will survive the bottleneck. But of course, then we will be back in nature and need to survive there in competition with everyone and everything else. So it doesn't look good, at least not in short term.
Well, I'm a post-doomer and optimist as well, like you, Amos, and so I look at civilization collapse as the end point of plastic pollution and all kinds of other electronic flame retardants and all kinds of PFAS and stuff that goes into the ocean. All of those toxic things, they end when civilization ends. So that's kind of my reason for optimism, to have a deadline for the destruction. Then we stop destroying things, and then only the climate warming carries on and wreaks some havoc. But it's like then you have one havoc and not 100 different havoc fronts, I guess. So I'm very optimistic, and I think the new American regime will increase and inspire an increase in carbon emissions globally, which will bring on the collapse even earlier. So, hooray!
That's good. That's right. What was I going to say? Oh, yes. I don't know if the poison will disappear overnight, but it will disappear pretty quickly. And then we will be rid of it. Of course, there will be pockets of poisons, many places, right? And then there is the nuclear power plants, which gives me the creeps even today. So there are many snacks, extremely many snacks for human survival. But that was what I'm going to say. Life is resilient, right? The book Silent Spring came in the early 1960s, and we are still reproducing. So I have no doubt if civilization continues that we will stop reproducing at some point. But I don't think we are there yet, even though the seed quality in males, human males, are declining year by year, really. So as I said, lots of snacks and dangers and stuff everywhere. The sooner the better. The sooner Donald should really get on with it. Sorry, I'm not so sure I mean that, but it is our only hope, really. Like the others have pointed out too. Civilization must end, and the sooner the better. Really.
Well, the only problem with all of that is the people who are going to wind up surviving are the ones who have access to the most energy and resources, and the people like us, we're going to be the ones that end up dead the quickest because we just don't have that kind of money, you know.
That money is an issue, but it doesn't really have to be. I've written an entire novel about it, and you can get on with quite a few resources, with not that many resources. You need weapons, of course, and food, canned food in a cellar somewhere in the mountain valleys. But then you are free, really. You might encounter some rich people with their gods and stuff at some point, but probably not, since the earth will be big again, right? And I'm not so sure the wealthy people will survive, will be the best survivors. They are so stupid, so dumb, so fucked up that they seem totally unable to take the right decision, make the right decisions, even on behalf of themselves. So if my take on those who will survive, we are it, really. Those people with our inclinations and stuff, right? Rebels, people anti-authority and stuff like that, survivalists in various forms. Those people will survive, will have the highest possibilities of survival. Call me an optimist.
Yes, yeah, I would agree that you are an optimist.
Thank you.
I just don't see it because, you know, all this new AI and have you seen all the different war robots that they're unveiling? Yeah, their intent is to wipe us out. They want to get rid of us because they see us as useless eaters.
Absolutely.
So, and I have little doubt that they're going to do a pretty good job of that, and they're going to continue civilization as if though nothing happened. We just won't be here. You know, that's their idea. Whether that actually happens or not, I can't say. You know,
but that's why they won't survive, right? They refuse to take in the reality of their plight, their situation. So quite simply, so they will they be a threat to other survivors? Of course they will, but not for very long, because they will die. They will fade away. At least most of them. I'm not. There might be some people that are able to think for themselves, multimillionaires and stuff, and military. But I don't see that. I see people with the rebellion. They are far more able and willing to do what it takes, really. In my book, I write about the military occupying the cities. And when you see how stupid, how they act recently, I don't really don't doubt that at all. So if you get out of the cities into the mountain valleys, you will be in the right place. As I said, they will have weapons in a limited time. At a limited time, they might even have planes, but not that much planes. And their robots need energy to move, and there won't be more energy left. At least not contained energy. So yeah, I wrote. I spent 8 years writing that book. It's my path to for human survival. Really, my roadmap for human survival, during and after the bottleneck.
Well, that will be a fascinating time, I'm sure. Looking forward to getting there. I have a question about, people say they have bingo cards, for what they expect or predict for 2025. So I'm gonna ask you guys, did you have on your bingo cards for 2025 that radicals and environmentalists would torch and open fire at electric vehicles in 2025?
No. That's really good, but I didn't.
It's very ironic.
Yes.
It's kind of neat.
But I'm against battery-driven cars. I always was against them. So
Yeah.
I support it, of course.
The funny thing is really that the people who are torching the Tesla dealerships now, most of them are actually or call themselves environmentalists and climate people or whatever. It's funny that they are doing what maybe you and I would call a good thing because the battery cars are a bad thing inherently. And that's the same way as Donald Trump was doing and is doing the right thing when he ditches the Paris Climate Accord. But he doesn't understand it himself, So it's kind of, yes, go guys and go Trump. But so we agree on the outcome, but not on why, I think it's fair to say.
He is his reasons for doing it and his end game is, of course, completely different from ours, of course. So, but then again, the end result is very important. It's so very important. So, if I had any say in it, I would have put an end to electric cars from the beginning. Really, it is so stupid. They don't realize that it's the car itself that is a polluter. Not it isn't just the petrol. They don't think at all, right? It's to coming back to what I was saying, right? The leaders, the tyrants, the oppressors, they are plain stupid. So they are very unlikely to survive the bottleneck during and after the bottleneck, and even before the bottleneck. They are counterproductive to their own survival. So and they will continue to be that. They won't change. They won't learn. They are toast. We aren't.
Eric, how are you on EVs? Are you a proponent?
No, not at all.
Okay. Well, there's not much to argue about then. We all agree.
Well, I mean, EVs. Let's face it, EVs actually they don't really reduce the overall input of energy and resources. You still have to build roads, and you actually have to build roads stronger because EVs are much heavier due to the batteries, and because EVs actually have a far greater thrust. Of course, they tear up roads a lot easier than regular cars, and they also chew up tires much faster than regular cars. So there's a whole lot of reasons that EVs really aren't all that great. Yeah, they have some advantages here or there, but for every pro there's a con. And bottom line is civilization itself is unsustainable, so it doesn't really matter how we power it. It doesn't matter if we power it with electricity or fossil fuels. The outcome is the same. It's all unsustainable. I mean,
Absolutely. It's deadly lethal to life itself, right?
right?
There are one road through the wilderness. It's blocking life, and we have millions of roads through
Yeah,
what we used to.
habitat fragmentation.
Yes. David Attenborough spoke about that 20 years ago, but he didn't drew the correct conclusions about it, like most others, right? So without that habitat, humans need to withdraw if civilization should continue in any form. Humans need to withdraw completely from the wilderness and draw the wilderness into the city. That's the only sensible choice. But they won't do that, of course. They don't want they won't do sensible stuff, logical, rational stuff. They are so totally irrational in the wrong way that that we have 500 years with colonization, right? The dominant forces of humanity has made that much caused so much destruction.
I would actually argue that the colonization that has been going on has been taking place over the last 10,000 years since we began developing agriculture. Because
I agree.
yeah, and as a result, as soon as we started doing that and storing grain, that in and of itself, that storing of grain, that was where we first came upon surplus energy, and that surplus energy became basically the tool of the greedy. And as soon as you had that, you started needing bureaucrats, in other words, politicians, and of course the bureaucrats were the people who counted the grains and doled out payments and so forth and credit and then took in tax payments and so forth and so on. So once we started doing that, we had people that were performing no real useful function outside of keeping track of how much surplus energy was available and how much could be spent on doing other things like building roads, building canals for irrigation, developing housing and so forth. And so, I mean, it just kept blossoming. And as soon as somebody discovered a new technological tool, boom, somebody else would see it and say, "Hey, that looks pretty cool." Bingo. They start selling them like hotcakes, and pretty soon, yeah. So yeah, it's been one thing after the other for the last 10,000 years, and we're finally coming to the end where nature says, "Okay, folks, uh, you've used up all your energy, all your resources, and of course, this has caused climate change. We're now cutting off your food supply. Sorry."
Advanced technology is a bad thing in itself. I have said that for a long time, really. So we should have stuck. We should have stuck with spears and arrows and stuff like that. We should definitely not have stopped being nomads, wanderers, hunter-gatherers, and so on. We have become a cancer, really. Humanity has become a cancer.
The reason we didn't stop is because quite literally we can't. Our species is an innovating species. We're innovators. That's what we do. And so as soon as somebody figures out a better way to do something, we just keep moving in that same direction. We think of it in terms of human progress. Now, the three of us know of human progress is just a myth, but there's a lot of people that actually believe in that story, and because we operate culturally, the story culturally promulgates itself. And there's a lot of people who think technology is great. They don't realize that technology has costs, and that those costs involve removing or eliminating entirely negative feedbacks, which once kept our species in balance with the carrying capacity of the land that we lived on. And so we just kept multiplying over and over and over again. And of course, the more we multiplied, the more people did the innovating and coming up with more technology, which promulgated more technology use, and on and on and on. And that's so, yeah. I mean, we are a rationalizing and narrative generating species. That's what we do.
Yeah, we could have stuck. We could have stuck by been storytellers by the campfire. That would have been enough for me. I would love to be a storyteller by the campfire, really. But most people need to make more of it, really.
Well, they think they do anyway. They don't. They don't really have to. They're they're told that they need to, and so they conform. You know.
Yes, they believe what they are told by an insane society.
Right.
Hello, Pradeep. We have a visitor from India here. I would just like to comment on the latest topic because I read John Zarazan, the American eco-philosopher or collapse prophet, I guess. So what he says about written or language and the symbolic culture, writing and painting and language itself, he says that that is an inherent part of kind of the tragedy or destruction of the biosphere through the human mind. So I totally agree with you, Amos, that the storyteller around the campfire, that is kind of a positive part of that. But maybe the main part of language and storytelling, or just thinking and language, is how to improve the tools, how to grow plants and make agriculture. And I think from Sumeria and stuff, many of the very first plates of written language are about sort of how much does this guy owe in tax to the city state or whatever. So we think of writing as sort of poems and wordsmiths and kind of these playful spirits, but it's more like the IRS, stealing you naked, taking your shirt away from you, and getting their tax dollars. Yeah, sorry for that rant. Pradeep, do you have a comment?
Just give me a little 5 minutes to think over it. I mean, it's it's a new subject, and
No
I
problem.
I
No
can't
problem.
just fire away right away.
I was just curious if you were sort of
Yeah,
waiting for
Let,
us to shut up. Yeah.
yeah,
No
yeah.
problem.
I mean, I mean, say some. I mean, just let me put my thoughts together. Like it's it's a good subject, and but did you say that how it can influence the environment, our writings, and or something like that?
No, I think I was talking about Zerzan, a philosopher from West Coast America, and about symbolic culture, the failure of
Acha,
symbolic culture. So it's more like a deeper philosophical point about
like Jung,
uh,
something like
language
Jung
is, language is
archetype.
kind of language is helping the thought, the human thought, and human thought is not necessarily a good thing for the biosphere, because it's because of our ability to think ahead and plan and stuff that we are trashing the place.
But we have existed for basically 300,000 years, right? It's just the last 10,000 years we have fucked up royally, right? That should tell something. We haven't really changed since we left the trees, since we left the forest, almost.
Agreed, but
But
however, I agree with that. But I think of what you are describing now as kind of an exponential curve. It's kind of natural for us not to fuck everything up for the first 200,000 years, right? But then we come into this swarm or locust swarm phase of humanity where we are billions, and then that's when we start fucking everything up. But it's really an exponential curve that goes slowly, and then everything at once, and then we die, right?
It
yeah,
started with the first cities, right? Before the first cities, there were few problems. So I see it as an aberration, really, the last 10,000 years. One that doesn't have to continue. When it ends, right? We can't return the same way to civilization that we can't use the same path to civilization like we did the last few thousand years, because all the minerals are gone from the earth, right? We have dug up almost everything, even through this society. So we can't return to civilization, or if we ever should return to civilization, there will be a much harder path, and I don't think that will happen at all. So if we survive this, we survive for many thousands of years more as well. That's my take on it, and I thought a lot about it. I've written books about it and articles and everything. So I believe in my hypothesis. Hypothesis. my tongue is curling again. Sorry.
yeah. So I mean, I think basically, like, I mean, writing human thought and all, like in history, like earlier on, like I think it was much more difficult to communicate and write because people wrote on stones or on
Yes.
primitive uh, forms of paper or leaves and all that. And I think all that changed with Gutenberg, like that was a significant inflection point where, I mean, knowledge kind of increased. I mean, people could communicate more and the printed word and people wrote more. And the next inflection point was I think the internet and I mean printing increased and newspapers, etc. And then the internet, which made it so democratic, everybody could think right here. And parallelly with all this, human thinking is also becoming much more. I mean, if we put it in the Eastern ear, like it's moving away from pure thinking, pure writing, sattvic ear into a tamasic, it's into a Kali Yuga kind of thing, like where the more, I mean, where evil prevails, like, so today, like, humans have become so very complex and, I mean, what to say, like, we've become evil, like in the sense that violence is increasing everything. So our thought processes are impure, our writings are impure to that extent. And maybe we are much more analytical and I mean, some of us, a very few of us are very analytical. They can write, they can analyze the situation, what is happening, and w- all that much better. But 99% of people are not so gifted, and it's become very impure, and it's also reflecting in our actions, human actions, like the kind of violence which is increasing. I mean, with new types of there were no guns, maybe. I mean, mass production of guns for say hundreds of years ago, and today with all that around, violence is increasing and resources are dwindling. So people are fighting more for scarcer resources. So in this process, I think the it's a decline of our civilization, and this writing and all is just uh, it's more negative than positive. The more people are writing, the I mean the kind of things. Yeah, I mean, even if you see young children, like when they're hardly 3, 4, the kind of thoughts they have, and soon they'll start writing. It's much more complex than what every 10 years, I mean, children are becoming like, I mean, much more intelligent, much more, yeah. So we are all moving in a trajectory towards ultimate collapse, final collapse. And it's also reflected in all the other spheres like climate itself, and economies are becoming so complex. And I mean, it's all part of writing, human intelligence. The currencies and the monetary systems are becoming so complex with derivatives and whatnot. And then if you see societies are all, I mean, due to resources again, migration, and I mean, the violence. So that's all reflected in writing and the psyche. So the psyche and writings and everything, uh, like it is all moving towards a more negative sphere. I mean, that's in short what I just could think of at the moment. Thanks.
Yes, we are moving like I write in my recent book, upcoming book. We need such a dramatic event that uh, no one can deny it, right? And that is the end of civilization, the collapse of civilization, then they need to use all their energy to survive again. So that will definitely help. They can't do all the excess stuff that is really damaging, that are close to evil, right? I didn't used to believe in evil. I'm not sure I do now either, but at least I am more inclined to believe it, because I see it every day, how it keep going in a total irrational way. And people are clueless, right? And they hail the horrors. They are cheering for the horrors, and the people propagating it. So
I think what you see more and more is that the what you call stupid or evil people. I was actually thinking of stupid people, but you said evil, but maybe it's the same thing. But what you see more and more on the internet is that people are really, really proud to have a stupid stance on something, or to have an informed stance on, let's say, Ukraine or Russia or whatever. But when they are clearly lacking in their information about the situation, they sort of beat their chest and are super proud like a gorilla or something. That's what I'm
yes,
observing anyway.
me too. They are totally clueless, right? But totally inability. Their inability to admit that to themselves are staggering. So, is stupidity evil? Not really, but the way we see it today, the way the totally irrational rules, that is an evil thing, definitely. And we see the result, right? We are destroying. We are committing collective suicide. We are committing mass extinction.
Ecocide.
Ecocide, yes. You name it, really. we have become like a meteor. We have all become, as a species, we have become a cosmic disaster. So that's most certainly evil. Of course it is. And a comet, a meteor, isn't evil. But we, humanity, with reason, with supposed reason, and a caring being, living being, acting like a comet, is definitely evil.
I think humans are becoming, I mean, number one, like the conditioning of humans has increased a lot. I mean, earlier we were much more purer, so we are much more conditioned today. And one of the biggest factors is, again, the advent of writing and mass media, etc., like propaganda, like, because basically, like, it's everywhere there is some kind of a deep state trying to control the their citizens. I mean, it may be the political party, or it may be the ultra rich or whatever. And so this propaganda, and partly the need for capitalism to grow infinitely. So they want people to be dumb. I mean, people are more intelligent in a way, at handling a lot of technology, this, that. But at a very basic level, people are becoming more shallow and dumb. And they are falling prey to this propaganda, like, which is actually controlling our psyches and everything, like from the time we are born, even this propaganda is ingrained into us by our parents and then the schools and then the media. And today, the kind of, I mean, like say 1,000 years ago, the people had much less propaganda to grow up with. For them, life was very basic, like I mean, how to grow food and how to have proper shelter. And so they didn't have so much leisure to, luxuriate and, thinking and, uh, or were subjected to such a barrage of information and propaganda. And now, like, is the age of misinformation and propaganda, and capitalism is trying its best, like everybody wants more profits. So we are all like puppets, like mindless puppets, like I think that all of us are just more, except a very few who can discern what is happening, what is not happening, what should happen, what should not happen. And the rest are just, like victims and puppets of this huge information barrage and capitalistic propaganda deep state apparatus.
Oh
Thank
yes,
you.
yeah, brainwashed from the cradle, right? So it's in cradle. But the good thing that some of us, it doesn't take with some of us. So that's great, right? So, but the main thing today, I've come to believe that the government, the establishment, can make people believe anything, no matter how insane it is, right? They believe Russia is responsible for the war in Ukraine, no matter how much evidence says differently. Some even believe that the Palestinians are responsible for their own extinction. Right? And a lot of other stuff equally crazy. So propaganda has become an enormously powerful tool for the oppressors. As I keep saying, Goebbels, the German Goebbels, the Nazi, he would have been green with envy if he had seen today's world. That's for sure. Anyone?
Yeah. Actually, like it's just on a almost on a vertical. Everything is sort of becoming exponential now.
Yes.
Like,
It's spinning completely out of control, and that's good in a way, right? Because it will make the collapse more likely and the fast collapse more likely. Just like Trump is really a being of chaos, which is good from our point of view. So that's good. It's the order stuff today that are really dangerous.
yeah, Trump has really shaken up everything, and now things are like on a much more. I
Yeah.
mean, uh, it's going out of control. Like he never thought things could. See, the whole thing was an equilibrium in a cozy setup of corruption and everything. And maybe, he in his own naive way, he wanted to set right. He wants to set right things right, but I think this whole shakeup of Musk and everything. Uh, has exposed the bubble which the American economy really is. Has been, it has just been a propped up economy, like because the dollar, I mean, just through their hegemony, they made their dollar strong and forcing people to, trade in dollars and buy. I mean, the whole system, hegemony, capitalistic hegemony over the world. And now Russia and China trying to break out of the shackles and form another group called BRICS and all that. And US threatening the BRICS members, the sanctions, this, that. And so Trump is only going to make things much more, at a, he's basically like, he doesn't take side with anybody, but though whatever he wants to do, his intentions are good, but the deep-seated rot in that system, which was quite, like the equilibrium was based on uh, a lot of corruption and etc. Everything, and when he's trying to break it, he might bring down the whole edifice itself. Because the whole edifice was based on a lie. And
But
uh,
United States is just an growth, a bigger thing than it's just the civilization on high gear, on totally speeding up, right? It's the forefront, the spare of civilization. So I can't stand Trump, though, but unintentionally he can bring about things. But no matter who was president today, United States is falling down, and it will probably do so before the rest of civilization as well. So it has been a civil war there, undeclared civil war there for just the Civil War. So it's amazing that they keep going, really. And when I say amazing, I don't mean it in a good way. So
You mean depressing rather than amazing.
yeah, I use like it is depressing that the United States still exists. Of course it is, but it's depressing. Or could be depressing that civilization still exists as well. It should have ended long ago. But it's just a matter of time, right? Everything is heading for the bottleneck, the collapse, the meeting in
The COP meeting.
No, I was being metaphorical. I tried to be metaphorical. It's the meeting of where the wanderer meets Satan. I think in biblical stories. There is a city in Iraq which Armageddon should start. They are supposed to start, right? Samara, we are all meeting is in Samara. That's the thing, really, right? And when the moment we meet in Samara, hell is literally loose. I don't believe in it literally, but it's a good fable, right? It's a good story.
Right.
An excellent metaphor, if you like.
Yep.
They put it this. I tried. I couldn't do one word last time either. But when I tried the day after, I didn't have trouble with it at all. So it's a strange thing, language. That's for sure. But Samara, we are all meeting at Samara. We are all heading for Samara on collision course. Bang! So we need a mountain cabin filled with canned food and swords and bows and arrows and stuff like that. That's how we will survive the next, humanity will survive the next 50 years, or the next 500, or the next 5,000, and so on.
If there's a nuclear holocaust, I mean, then the survivability will reduce much more.
I'm writing about it now. The nuclear winter will just last 10 years. I wouldn't recommend it, but it will just last 10 years. So I write about people digging a hole in the snow, digging a cave in the snow, and hibernating there until the snow disappears again. I guess I am. I write about the human spirit, the more than anything. I guess it's that the thing, the fire inside, that will take us through almost anything.
Somehow I feel like we are like in a Walking Dead scenario, like, this Walking Dead series. Sort of, it reverberates a lot with my thinking and all. Like, I mean, sometimes I feel we are already in that Walking Dead scenario. Like, just, I mean, most of us.
It's a great metaphor, that too. Absolutely.
Sleepwalking into extinction.
Yeah. We are sleepwalking. We are not, quote unquote, is not aware, hardly even aware at all. A cat is far more aware than we are. Any animal, really. They know, except the dogs, of course. They are so domesticated that they hardly know what is back and forth, back and front. So, but all the other animals, like the beaver and everything, I saw a possum. She experienced thunder. Thunder was rocking the house. She lived, and she clutched her heart. She wasn't exactly afraid, right? But she was anxious, I guess. Thunder is frightening if you don't know what it is, I guess. Perhaps she did know, but that she still clutched her heart. But one thing I saw on the internet, by the way, a child saw his mother's identical twin for the first time, right? And he was convinced that that the identical twin was his mother. He wanted to leave. His mother held him, but he wanted to go to the other woman that was his identical twin, and he wasn't afraid at all, because he saw them as the same person, I guess. Extremely interesting.
Yeah. But these are very, very interesting times. I mean, and Trump has actually accelerated the whole process, I feel. I mean, because things are just falling apart much faster, and though he's trying to bring about peace and all that, but in his own weird. I mean, he has his own style of functioning, and then with Elon Musk there, and things are I mean, I don't know, like everything seems to collapse. I mean, the reverberations are so wide throughout the world, and he's getting into another state of, I mean, like he's becoming another part of like the earlier regime. I mean, they want to. He also wants to dictate terms. I mean, which are some of which are not very sound to the rest of the world, and uh, I really don't know like where things are going to go. Like because the American economy like could face its moment of truth because the dollar has been an inflated currency for a long time, and so if the dollar and American stock markets start going down, they will bring down a lot of things all over the world,
Yes.
and the amount of money which is fleeing America, and they are seeking safer havens, and but I don't know where they will find safer havens. I mean, Europe also is in fairly a lot of doldrums. You know, most of the economies are deep in debt and not doing well. And China could be the only one which, but then China has such deep interlinkages with America with their exports and all. So if the tariff war and all goes on much more, I mean, I don't know where it will all end. You know, it's like I mean, it's becoming more and more confusing, the whole scenario. Like,
Everything affects everything, right?
yeah, interdependent.
That is civilization. That's why the collapse will, when it happens, will happen everywhere.
Yeah,
Right?
and especially with globalization, which started in the 80s, the interdependence between countries has increased,
Yeah.
and then it was through a regime of like tariffs, like bilateral or multilateral tariffs, etc. And Trump is trying to shake up the whole thing to America's favor. I mean, he feels. I mean, to some extent, maybe he's right. America was the biggest market, so it everything operated under some other system of tariffs, which was in a different equilibrium, and he wants to equalize tariffs and everything. So the whole it's just like trying to change the price structure across the world. So the whole global production system and was based on, like everything is an input to something else. So if the price structure changes radically over the next 6 months, like the entire manufacturing and the entire system as we know it uh, will have a lot of unintended consequences, and so which will be really chaotic. We are getting into, I mean, we are speeding. I mean, as it is, things are pretty bad world over. And Trump, with all his righteousness, I mean, he's inflicting a more severe chaos across the world, and which I think is good in a way. We will collapse faster. Like there's no need to slow it down.
The only question is will it stay down?
It won't stay down if the collapse isn't complete. It needs to be very. It needs to be a great collision, right? Things have to happen simultaneously. The sea rise, the increasing winds, the pandemonium, the collapse in social relations. Everything has to happen simultaneously, or the destruction won't be enough either. So a small collapse won't do it. It has to be a major collapse, really global and harsh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and parallelly, like you see, like heat is going up. This year, I think we could witness another 1 degree centigrade rise in temperatures. And by next year, if there is, I mean, food production and grains, etc., are affected badly, like prices start shooting up of food and food riots. I mean, just about everything is, falling. I mean, is in in a synchronized downward spiral. Like so. Then, I mean, I think. I mean, most people are not able to see the downward spiral. They still feel, I mean, due to this conditioning, mass conditioning. And yes, so the mainstream media and the governments really don't want the truth to come out to the ordinary people. So they still keep conditioning them. Everything is all right, everything, and we are trying our best and this and that. But uh, things are spiraling out of control, spiraling down out of control.
Yes, we live in a tailspin suicide run, really. We are in free fall. We have fallen off the cliff and are in free fall. And you don't notice that you're falling really until you hit the bottom, right? The ground below. Then you notice that you have in fact been falling for a long time. So
it's kind of like when you're flying through the air. The flying part's great. It's the landing that sucks.
absolutely. Anyone can fly a plane, right? But they can't land it, so they are fucked anyway. So, like I said, the mountain valley with lots of stuff.
It's such a great thing to have a panel with you fine gentlemen. I don't even have to say anything. I can just let the rest of you go on. So I'm very happy for that. Thank you.
The panel has been set up by no less a person than GS. So the panel has to be good. And we are very happy that Amos is here with.
Thank you. I feel good to be here. Actually, it's very encouraging. I'm really. I feel really encouraged after every time we end the broadcast, I feel very good, actually. So, but then again, challenges have always inspired me in a backwards way. So I'm not like most people, fortunately not. Looks like we have spoken enough for tonight. No one has anything else to say?
Yeah, I'm kind of tired, actually.
Yes, I noticed.
Been letting you and Pradeep talk the night away?
It's 3:30 in the night here, and I don't feel tired at all actually. But I'm always staying up to write and stuff. So I always go to bed just before the sun rises. Right.
So do you do most of your writing at night?
Yes, I usually do. I can write during the day as well, but I prefer writing during the night.
Yeah, I think the stillness of the night, it helps, like to collect one's thoughts and the vibrations. Actually, like we get affected by vibrations of people thinking and all. So, like when all the people are sleeping, the vibrations are like put to rest. So there's a strange tranquility at night where we can think clearly, more clearly, maybe.
And one more thing, right? The oppressors, uh, the night doesn't belong to them, right? The dictators, the madmen, the night doesn't belong to them. The day may belong to them, but the night does not. So, and I've always known that deep down since I was a child, really. So I've always preferred the night, always.
Yeah, basically, I'm also a night animal. Like, I mean, earlier I used to sleep at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, but nowadays, with age, I'll go to sleep by 12:30.
Maybe I can challenge you creatively if sort of conversations are running out. Uh, if we were going to, let's say, spread the word on X and on social media about this, the thinking about this thinking, the kind of twilight way of thinking about Trump doing the right thing about carbon emissions, for instance, like we talked about earlier, right? So, what would the hashtag or kind of summarized slogan be for you know being for the things that we used to be against because we are realizing that it brings us to an earlier collapse, which we are for because it takes care of the life on Earth. So that's obviously too long to be a hashtag, and that's why I challenge you guys to sleep on it and think about it during the week. Or if you have a suggestion now, shoot.
Human survive. Human, the savior of mankind, the savior of humanity. That's the hashtag, right? And we don't explain. We don't explain it. We just use it. Start using it.
I think GS should give us a little bit of homework during the week, which we can do and which will set up the background for the next week's conversations.
Yes, but we have talked about this. We have almost talked about the same theme every night, right? In every program, even we are running out. Will run out of things to say eventually. Really, I believe.
I think we
And that takes a lot to make me shut up. Really. That's for sure.
We might run out, but I think logically there are so many things within these frame topics that I don't really fear for running out of things to talk about. Maybe this meeting we haven't talked so much, I guess, about the current events. But there are sort of always, yeah, I mentioned the terror campaign against Elon with the Tesla dealerships. But that was kind of part of the explaining how these terrorists are doing kind of a stupid or an even criminal thing with attacking in a terrorism style to scare people from associating with Elon or buying the car and stuff. But with our perspective, it's the good thing because electric vehicles are kind of the wrong kind of green anyway. Yeah, so I think we can always tie things that we are thinking about philosophically to current events in that way. So I don't really think we will run out of things, basically.
Of course, we can repeat ourselves a bit, and we do that anyway. But no matter where we start talking, what we should start talking about, we will always end up talking about civilization and the collapse and so on, right?
But that is a feature, not a bug. We're supposed to kind of draw on the overall perspective. That's kind of the secret sauce of the Extinctionati, I guess.
Of course. But we can't force communication, right? It works great between us when it works, but when it doesn't work, it's just there will be silence, right? More silence. So
yeah, I don't fear the silence. That is more like it happens, and yeah, with regard to giving homework, I could do it, and I would be open to it, but I'm also I like what Amos says about just starting the conversation and then it so takes its own turns and finds its own way through the forest. I'm actually a big fan of that as well. So, and also, you don't really know this week what will be the big kind of focus point in the real world next week, right? Things are happening so fast. So.
Yeah.
yes, we could, of course, we could focus. We could focus on a country, for instance, a given country, not United States all the time. I could talk a lot about the UK, for instance. I've lived there and stayed there a lot. So, but the UK is really just United States in miniature, really. So. We have NATO, right? Hopefully, Trump will kill NATO this time. He should go right onto it. NATO is a horrible club of warmongers. So, and the military, they are the worst polluters in the world, in all kinds of pollution. So it's more enough to talk about, but I'm talking more about the energy, really. If the energy isn't there, and it won't be all the time, right? So I've seen it the last half an hour now. It isn't there, right? It was great at the start, but now it has gone.
It's not the way I see it. I saw it as the conversation just moving along like a river in the spring. So, but maybe people see things differently. I guess. I guess I could give some homework, and I will formulate my challenge about finding a beautiful short hashtag for our kind of overall position. And so I formulate that in text and I will send it to you guys so you can think about that till the next week.
Maybe GS, we should delve a little more into I don't know, like whether it's taboo, like into spirituality and all, like, because that's the last frontier, you know, like all of us have to I mean, death is inevitable, yeah, and how different people uh, take to it, prepare for it, or I mean, uh, I think I think humans are. I mean, the whole thing is so vast. There is no end to topics, and so if actually the thing is at a certain level, we think collapse is the end of it all, and yeah, but that is at a very physical level. Like we are looking at things in a very physical way. But beyond collapse, I think there is a much vaster thing, you know, like time space continuum, which is infinite. And man is always trying to, in a quest for immortality, I mean, even after death. And so there's so many other subjects we can take up, which are collapse proof, you know, like,
Oh,
so
yeah,
we don't.
and
I think that is a very,
I
very good idea. I support that.
yes,
Yeah.
and I'm
So
very into
we don't.
stuff like that too. I studied spirituality. I see myself as a very spiritual person, really. A different spiritual person than most, I guess, but still. So,
I, maybe like one day we can just talk about our personal beliefs and in how to cope with the final moment, you know, like, and I mean, how to transcend this. Actually, this whole thing, like the way Easterners and especially like indigenous people see it, is, I mean, this is just one illusion. We are living in an illusion, and we just build on that. And this is mine, this is mine, this is I, this is I. But actually, like once we are able to transcend that I, me, mine, like it's a vast lake of peace and tranquility, like, and so I mean, this whether through meditation or through I mean, realization of the ultimate truth. And so I think there's so much to talk, you know, like actually this whole thing is, this is correct, this is one planet, small planet, 8 billion people fighting for control over the rest. And but there are so, I mean, the solar system, the Milky Way, there are so many galaxies, every truth and infinite uh,
the uni-
consciousness is much bigger, like,
the universe,
and,
I see it as infinite, absolutely. And
and
when I say infinite, I really mean it. No beginning, no end.
yes.
Really.
So
So,
it's time for the group sometimes to transcend this immediate collapse, you know, this whole thing, you know, like it's like a disease, you know, like it's there out everywhere. So all of us are so impacted by it. But slowly, if we start quietening our mind and taking, I mean, going beyond the collapse, and just, it's such a huge, vast expanse of beauty and infinity out there. So maybe sometimes we can talk about such things.
We can actually talk about that any week. You know, it's part of the curriculum, so to speak. I would like to share sort of an epiphany I had some months ago, which I may sound really stupid now, but or you know, but it's like a thing that everyone knows about, but you can still kind of get this philosophical whiplash or whatever, but when you experience it in the right way. So I was thinking about evolution or the chain of life on Earth. All of these species, from the fish that went out of the ocean and evolved into all the other guys and critters, and so what dawned on me was the realization that it's really kind of official to think that humans started 300,000 years ago, or 500,000, or 1 million, or 3 million, because we were always born by our parents, right? Born by our mother, from even from these before human species. So we actually have our forefather, our ultimate forefather, is kind of the first bacteria or amoeba or whatever, and we have a straight line, bloodline, if you will, all the way back till 3 billion years ago, or
Yes,
whenever it was.
and even longer back, because there's a thing called panspermia. Like
Yeah,
we arrived here from another solar system
yeah.
several billion years ago.
That means we are actually aliens. That our
Absolutely.
forefathers were flying around through space and maybe were born on Neptune or Jupiter's moon or whatever.
Well, we have common ancestors with aliens, at least, right? Panspermia, it was the thiamine, the amino acids, right? They could be common throughout the universe, or at least this local part, very local part of the universe. So, so I write about that too. It's very fascinating. Because when the first sun went supernova, it blew everything from that point where life almost started to the rest of the universe, right? And it is now spread over many million of light years, perhaps. So we have a cousin or a brother or something out there or here that is could be very similar to us, really.
But if we are aliens, are we illegal aliens?
Of course, everyone is illegal aliens.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially those people that have lived in America for 50,000 years before the white Europeans arrived. Of course, they are most certainly aliens, illegal aliens, in the head of those idiots running the country right now. So, but my kind of spirituality, I believe in reincarnation, but I don't believe in nirvana. I just believe that the reincarnation is eternal. There is no big beginning, no end with that either. We just go on, right? And the flesh is equally important to the mind, to the soul, if you like. I call it shadow. So it's just part of the same thing, equally valuable. It isn't like some heaven or something, nirvana out there are more valuable than life on earth, for instance, the way I see it. I see everything as equally valuable. And I've had lots of experiences, travels, spiritual travels, travels by the soul and mind and everything. So I could talk about that forever too.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And actually, the one of my deepest belief and truth is that uh, there is no I. So, my whole thing is like my quest from my teenage years has been to discover myself through, and there's a philosophy in Hinduism called Advaita Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta. So that has, influenced me a lot. I'm just putting it Advaita Vedanta. So that was, so I used to read a lot of Sankaracharya and etc. when I was in my teens. So I used to write a lot also. Maybe I've not become a famous writer or anything, but I used to write when during my college days, and my first inquiry was like I was very troubled because my parents wanted me to get into a certain type of uh, education and career and all, and I didn't believe in all that, and so that like they troubled me a lot, and I personally believe all of us have some kind of varying degrees of schizophrenia, like split personalities. It's not like it's all black and white split personality. It's there are various, forms of schizophrenia. So I got very deep into that. So while trying to analyze myself, I wrote for about 2 years and deep into the night till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, very high on sometimes, taking a lot of dexedrine. There's a thing called, like the amphetamines. So I used to take that and write prodigiously at night. So then finally I came to the stunning conclusion at the end that actually we don't, all that we think is I'm so and so, I'm so and so. It is all a construct of society, like, and by given to given to us by our parents, by our schools, our conditioning. And once we try to take away all the veil of this construct, then we reach the final, the conclusion that there is something, beyond I, and I is just a temporal flesh piece of biological entity. And so once we are able to, like some of these yogis in the Himalayas in India, like for years they are in those caves meditating. They don't eat. They, so I think that has always been my peak year, like trying to reach something like that. Of course, it's very difficult in a domesticated environment with a family and things and all. But I think that's the ultimate reality, the ultimate truth, where you just depart from everything. Mentally, at a mental level, till the body goes. And so it's a different cup of tea and all that. So,
As I said, I met myself, my eternal self. Um, all the lives I have lived, right? And that's a really powerful experience. But that is just confirming myself, not not the way you describe it at all. So I guess we're experiencing it differently, all of us. And I talked to others that have had other experiences too. So there are lots of different interpretations.
Absolutely. A Norwegian girl, explained this to me some years ago that within her, or within everybody, but within her, there is a younger girl uh, who kind of ended up stranded, whatever, but she is still with her, almost like in a schizophrenic scenario, right? And how can I explain this? For myself, for instance, when it comes to, let's say, Trump rooting out the CO2 is dangerous rule or law, a part of me is the younger environmentalist and the activist who says, no, 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 Trump, you cannot do that. It's the basis of everything we believe. And if we are going to, draw down the emissions and if we are going to save this planet, blah, 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 blah. And the other more mature current me is like kind of saying, yeah, but get it going, Trump. This is the way to go. And I'm sure there are more instances and more kind of voices inside of everyone. And sometimes, if you haven't really gathered your head or your thoughts yet in the morning or when you wake up or whatever, you can get really, really emotional about something you felt 15 years ago. Like start crying because some power station is opening in China and they're polluting or whatever. When your current eye thinks this is kind of insignificant in the larger context. So the existence of different kind of voices inside at the same time. I'm sure there's a fine word for this, but this was basically what this girl enlightened me to years ago.
Yeah, reincarnation is in all over the world, really. It isn't just in Eastern religions. It is even in Christianity, if you look hard enough. But it makes sense to me, really. I really enjoying my ride. But I would still enjoy my life even if I wasn't even if I didn't believe I was immortal, really. So of course I want to go on. I don't want my existence to end. I want to live forever, actually. So it would be so much fun. I've written several books about that too.
But what if we discover that there is no I? We are just part of a infinite simulation. And
Perhaps I don't believe that. I don't agree with you, but I acknowledge that there are other people experience it differently from how I do it. Of course, because I've talked a lot about it. Some of those I talk about have the same experience that I have, but others have a completely different experience. So my guess is that all of it, or most of it, a lot of it at least, is true, right? Everything, perception is everything, or a lot.
Well,
So,
what if I told you there is no time? There is no week between our meetings. It's all just time is just an illusion.
I wouldn't disregard that at all, right? It's just uh, time. Time entered modern humans when they were given clocks, at the factories in the 17th century, right? Before that, time didn't really exist for people. At least not. They just looked at the sun, of course, the rising of the sun and the setting of the sun and stuff like that. They started doing that already at Stonehenge, at least at Stonehenge, 4,000 years ago, right? It's a clock. Stonehenge is basically a clock, a sun clock. So existence is so vast and so different, and that's great. It should be able to, and my conviction is that it does contain a lot of different truths, different viewpoints that are all equally valid.
Yeah. And the other thing, like, which, I mean, just a thought, I mean, my belief of mine is what humans fear the most is death. And that, that I within inverted commas will not exist after that. So religion, organized religion made it that, like, if you do, I mean, there are various ways of looking at it. Some religions, they say if you are good on earth, then you go to heaven or go to hell. And then there are some which say that you will be reborn in a higher category or a lower category. And if you achieve self-realization in this life, you don't get born. I mean, you gain moksha. So
Yes,
these
I am
are,
aware of it.
and these are, like, sometimes I feel these are all like insurance, like like people make insurance, if something happens, you get something. So I think this whole thing of religion in many ways is like an insurance, it gives you the guarantee that if you do this, you live longer, you gain immortality through reincarnation or through something or something. And I don't know. This just, I mean, this one of my beliefs. So I believe, like, while this piece of flesh and bones called Pradeep is still there, I mean, it should try to. I've started referring to myself as it or something. So it should
There,
transcend
there
these
is yeah,
mortal boundaries and try to gain moksha while here in this life. So there'll be no fear of death. There'll be no fear of anything.
no, I have no intelligence. I've heard your explanation on it before too. By the way, there is something called quantum immortality that is interesting too, on a purely philosophical. I did it. Philosophical. When one of you die, right? There are always those a lot of use out there that find a way to go on forever. I'm not sure I believe that, but it's very fascinating angle. That too. My kind of reincarnation doesn't have anything to do with religion, though. It's just purely, I don't know what to call it. It's just spirituality, science, and so on. I've read about people having the same experience that I have, and others, like I said, have a different experience about it. I agree that religion is a kind of wish fulfillment. It could be.
It's like an opium. It's like an opium for the masses.
Yes, of course, it is. Anything we do, we say here, any one of us can have a wish fulfillment. I don't believe that, but we could have. This could be just this life, of course. I don't believe that either, but it could be. So let's say I don't postpone the release of my upcoming novel for 200 years. I don't. I publish it now, right? I don't wait for the insurance to kick in. So, by the way, every time I'm close to completing a novel, I've been convinced that I get a meteor, I get hit by a meteor or run down by a car or something. And I have published 28 novels, and I still haven't died. So as long as I keep writing, I will be immortal, right? Very, very
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for a great conversation.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It's always interesting, and now it has picked up again. We managed to change the subject.
Change track.
So
Yes, thanks,
It will give us
Eric.
it will
I
give
guess,
us a new lease of life.
Huh?
I guess in order to work against the theory of time, we should just ignore time and push on for some more minutes. We don't have to stop at 2 hours. There's no special reason for that.
Yeah, if you guys want to go on, by all means. It's way past my bedtime, so I'll talk to you guys later.
yes,
No problem,
very
and
nice
you're very welcome. You're very welcome the next week as well. And if you guys have some friends or other people you think of who ought to be here, just pop me an email or whatever, or just share the invite the message with them. We can always have more people. It's not like it's overcrowded here. So.
All right. Thank you. I'll take leave.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
pleasant dreams.
So I guess that leaves the two Norse guys. Do you want to push on a bit?
No, I don't think so. I'm done for tonight. I think, even though I managed to, it was managed to change the subject and still just keep going, right?
Yes,
I woke up again.
I think it's important that we shouldn't really think about a topic, like spirituality, as something that we might do sometime, in the future. The perfect time is now, and
Absolutely.
there's no reason everything should be about physics or politics or whatever. And 3 or 4 years ago on this podcast, the conversations were also like this. People talking for an hour about the meditation, and I was just almost falling asleep because I don't really care about meditation. I care about being out in the nature and getting into that kind of groove. But I don't sit with my feet crossed on that kind of stuff because it never appealed to me, right? But that's no problem, because then you can return with a vengeance when the conversation starts going into something interesting to you, right? So it doesn't have to be 100% all the time.
Yes, it has, as I said, it could be repetitive if we talk about the end of civilization all the time, even though it's an immensely interesting subject, of course. But there are limits. If we repeat ourselves too much, we get the conversation grinds to a halt. Right? We experienced that after an hour today, and that isn't strange exactly because of what I was saying. Right?
What we used to think about, or think and say about it, 2 or 3 years ago, was that the topics would kind of emerge and float to the surface by themselves. Often it never happened until the second hour, because everybody had some kind of news and some kind of update from this and that, and then sort of the interesting kind of core topic of the episode, if you look back on it afterwards, kind of emerges when people start fighting for the microphone, right? And people, you kind of see what is the core subject. But I don't think we should have people directing the conversation too much. I think the model is kind of good. It's we should not be afraid of silence. We talked about earlier. It goes silent for 10 seconds. I think I think it feels kind of not painful, but when nobody talks after I've spoken, I feel that I've said something silly or whatever, because you are just left in a black darkness.
I thought you had been disconnected or something, and the rest of you had been disconnected.
Yeah, that's always a possibility in these technical times, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
But we had to struggle to find our new subject, but we found it.
Yeah,
Right.
and I will just encourage it. You don't have to be polite in that way. It's just to charge on in a new direction. There's no set topic, and that's intentional. It's not because we are lazy or stupid or whatever. It's intentionally no set topic because it emerges in a good way, I think.
We had a good a second conversation tonight, at least, right? Because yes, we could talk about eternity for eternity, of course. So that's great.
Okay, I will formulate that homework assignment now, and I will download and upload to Spotify and all the podcast stuff. So yeah, so I have some more time to just work on this episode, I guess. But just sorry, my throat is still working up. It was a very good one, a nice one, and as I said, I felt that it was lovely to just observe you three other guys, just flowing along and not starting a fight or whatever.
That's so great. We don't need to because we are all talkers, right?
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we don't need to talk too much, but we don't need to talk too little either. It's I always sit on nails. I want to take the word, but I've learned humility or something. Some
restraint.
You're saying yes, absolutely, and I don't need to that because we don't talk too much, so to speak. None of us do. we can sit there and listen to people talk for minutes, but that's quite okay because there is no. Yes, I like this format, this stuff. So.
And as I say, there's a good advice to if people tend to forget what they were going to say. It's a good advice to have a pen and paper or just some kind of notepad on your computer or iPad, whatever. So just to
Of
write
course.
down what you're going to say after the current guy is finished talking.
I almost forgot once, but I remembered just 10 seconds later. So
yeah,
the
good thing about doing that is that when you don't use all your brain power to remember what you're going to say, you can actually listen to the current person, right?
Of course.
Okay, Amos, I have to call it a night.
Yes, that's okay.
Dreams belong to the night.
It does. Dreams belong to the night. It's such a great calling or goodbye, both calling and goodbye statement. Like you recall, probably recall, we used it all the time 20 years ago. We don't use it so much this time, but anytime I remember, every witch night, for instance, we message each other. Dreams belong to the night. Me and a few of the others.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Ending. So